19 races down, 1 to go, and it all comes down to this for the 1-Up Turbo Truck Series, this grand finale of the 2025 season. And we are here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway for 67 laps to decide a champion, who gets a good momentum going on to a new future, and who will take the checkered flag in this race over the course of the next 67 laps. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun the last few years, and I expect it to be no different this time around. And for this being such a special occasion, not only do we have Ryan Griffin in the booth with us for tonight's action, we also have James Ellison with us, a reprisal of Springfield earlier this year. Great to have you both with us, but boy, you could not have picked a better race to tune into, because this championship fight is razor thin, and it could honestly go any way at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of bittersweet for some of the championship contenders, because when we'll get to that, they're moving on to better adventures after this race. But it's really interesting to watch this. You got two FPM drivers and DJ Kurtis, AF Walsh, then you got Paul Villalobos. They've all been, and a few others that are less hopeful right now, but they've all had a really mostly good season. So it's been real fun to watch, no matter how often I've been able to be in the booth or just watching in the stands.
Start of this year, the way these opening races developed, if you looked at the top three in the standings, you'd figure, makes sense it'd be these top three. It's more how we got here and the gaps between them, I think, that has been the biggest shocker coming into the finale. We knew Kurtis was going to be here defending his title. We knew the 66 after the battle the two had last year. We knew that was going to happen. But the last couple of weeks, the last couple of races flipped this completely around. I mean, you had the 66 caught up in the wreck at Dega. You had the running out of gas at North Wilkesboro late in the race. And it's flipped it on its head to where now the guys we thought this was going to be between Kurtis and Paul DJ and Paul coming in here. But now it's primarily between the teammates, Kurtis and Walsh. And the racing we've seen this year, take a coin out of your pocket and flip it in the air and call it, because I think at this point you could go either way as far as which one of these guys could get it. And obviously you still have Paul lurking in the wings, and we do have a couple other guys that are still mathematically contenders, so anything happens, it could blow completely wide open.
Absolutely. We've shown you the points. We've shown you the gaps. We've shown you where everyone stands. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot for this race. DJ Kurtis holding such a narrow lead over AF Walsh, Paul Villalobos waiting in the wings. These three are going to give us a good show, and who knows whatever contenders might pop up along the way. As we can now bring you the starting lineup for tonight's 67 laps of action, and a first pole of the 2025 season could not have come at a better time for AF Walsh. He finds himself on the pole for the first time this year. He will lead the field to green. Alongside him, Cal Farrell, the man who won this race a season ago. We'll see what he can do from the second position. Maston Rimmel going for the Owners' Championship. He's still very much in the hunt for that. Lines up third, followed by the two Fitzwater Australia Racing teammates of Jojen Stoyan and Vince Fries completing the top five. 3 Crossroads Racing Chevys behind them. Jesse Turner in 9th, and Paul Villalobos completing the top 10 with Kurtis down in 15th. But man, this is going to be such an intense race to watch, because if you flash back to this race last year, it was a late splash and dash to the checkered. Will we see something similar again, or will these guys practice more management to get themselves to the end of this thing?
Last year's race was certainly very interesting to watch, no matter where or how you were watching it. It played out clearly in Farrell's favor for the race win, and Kurtis was able to get the title, and now here he is getting ready to do it again. It's going to be interesting to see if this race has a similar dynamic to last year or not. But you talk about some of these contenders. You talk about Maston Rimmel, 3rd place. He replaced a man who was going places. John McFadden, we miss him, but at the same time, at least this team can go for an owner's title. So there's some sort of I'm not sure the right word to use. My words are failing me, but they're looking at something at least. Meanwhile, we've talked about it already. Kurtis and Walsh and Villalobos, two of those three moving on to brighter pastures next year. It's going to be real interesting to see how this plays out. Plus, you got a whole bunch of non-contenders who could play spoiler for the race.
It's funny, we're going to be talking about the championship pretty much throughout the day, so we're going to be talking about the contenders. But I want to talk a little bit more about those guys that aren't necessarily championship contenders. Obviously, this last race, you want to try to get the best showing you can to build momentum into next year. And I look at the teammates that are up there in the top 10 right now. You mentioned the Fitzwater team trucks, the 51 and the 81. Ellison, your team trucks are up there, 6th, 7th, and 8th. You know, I think it's neat to see the teammates that are up there and the teams that are trying to build that momentum going to next year. Like, hey, you know, a good chunk of the season most of the time is the mile and a half. So you got to build that program for next year. This is a good test bed. And this qualifying session is any indication. I'd be looking at some of these team trucks next year and, you know, maybe helping improve their program going into next year.
A lot of storylines to be talking about throughout this race and well after it, but there's only one chance to settle this championship, and it is out on the track. So with that being said, we have 42 drivers ready to chase glory at Homestead-Miami Speedway. We're ready to bring you that action now. It's the 1UP Turbo Truck Series Championship finale, and the green flag set to get this great race going in just a short while. Stay tuned, folks. This is one you're not going to want to miss. 67 laps, one champion, one final race at Homestead-Miami Speedway. The pace car is off. AF Walsh and Cal Farrell on the front row, leading us to the restart zone. The green flag is out, and we are underway for the final time in the 1UP Turbo Truck Series in 2025. Walsh gets a good jump off the line, and he's going to bring Maston Rimmel with him, carrying them down into turn one. That inside is going to be great on the start, but as the race progresses, you're going to want to fade high to carry the momentum through the corners here.
Absolutely, and a great start by AF Walsh there with Rimmel right behind. Yeah, we got driver championship, driver and owner championship contender here, owner championship contender behind. But you know, a lot of this early on is just going to be settling in, getting a rhythm, and like you said, finding the best grooves.
And it'll be interesting to watch, too, because we'll see throughout the race. You already mentioned about them running the high lane, especially down in 3 and 4. If you get almost close to that outside wall, you can carry a lot of momentum on that top side. And despite the inside kind of having a detriment here at the start, that 98 of Rimmel staying right with Walsh, not letting Walsh pull away. Freeze tries to work the inside as the 51 goes way up against the wall. And sees if and the 66 is brushing against the wall way up there.
That's Paul Villalobos entered this race third in the championship, quite a ways back of the two FPM teammates, but he slides along the wall out of turn 4, keeps this going straight. Not much positions lost for the Venezuelan driver. But out of turn 2 now, to continue lap number 3, DJ Kurtis. Here he is. He's gained a couple spots since the opening jump, and he currently runs in about the 13th position. Villalobos just got back past him for 12th, but slow and steady progress is the name of the game for DJ Kurtis. He knows that Walsh has already gotten the bonus point for leading laps today. He just needs to hope that the O2 doesn't get that most laps led point, because if that happens, that just changes the conversation a whole lot more.
And see here, defending race winner, Cal Farrell looking to come back and actually keep the trophy in his hands. And one of my drivers here, well, actually 2 of them running 3 wide here. Actually, they're all 3 running 3 wide here. Rhodes Gray, William Ayers, Ludovic Charette. They're all trying to hang in there. And this is going to be a bittersweet one for Crossroads because we transform into almost pretty much a new team next year, except for some of the driver lineups. But they're going for one last time for the Bowtie Brigade here.
It's funny watching this, too. Watching them sort this out as they run 3 wide. You can run pretty much anywhere on this racetrack. But it'll be interesting to see, because to go back to what you were saying about Walsh, and if he gets the most laps led, they'll actually be tied. So at that point, it'll just come down to finishing position. It comes down to who finishes ahead of who, and hell, maybe even who runs a fast lap, too, could sometimes determine that. But right now, it's Walsh out front. Rimmel and Farrell continue to fight for second, although the 51 now in that fight as well. As we mentioned, as Ellison mentioned, we got a couple of the Crossroad trucks in the mix there. The 17th Turner's in there, and also I see the 6 of Cam Stevenson. Now Stevenson, a little more of a long shot. He's still mathematically available. He still mathematically could win the title today, but he's more kind of a long shot versus Kurtis, Walsh, and the 66. And speaking of Kurtis, he's gotten to that high lane, and now he's in the top 10 moving forward.
And look, you mentioned the fastest lap and how it could change things. Right now, that belongs to Jesse Turner, and that's not what Walsh or Kurtis want to see, because that means that neither of them can get it at the moment. But you mentioned that Kurtis gets into the top 10. He's running in the 9th position. He's working over Turner for 8th. You also mentioned Kurtis Stevenson putting in a strong performance. He started this race down in 13th. He's already fought his way now up into a battle for 6th with Cal Farrell. And how about Rhodes Gray down on the bottom? He's cleared 3 trucks in the span of 1 corner, and now he's going for the lead on Walsh.
Yeah, he's already got 2 wins on the season. This would be his 3rd if he could get up here and hold on. Getting ahead of myself here, but like I said, we're going for one last one for the Bowtie Brigade. And while teammate Charette is the last one of the current lineup in trucks to not win, I don't think it'd be a bad thing if I definitely wouldn't find it to be a problem for Rhodes to win again if we look back to the field for a second there.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because I mentioned in the intro about the best of the rest. You know, Rhodes Gray just barely missed out on making the playoffs this year. Had the engine failure in the cutoff race, and yet he's made the most of this season. Like I said, trying to go out with a high note and build the momentum into next year. He's trying to see if he can put it to the championship contender and say, hey, you know, if we had made it, we would have been a contender. As, man, this race right now among the top 6 now, is we got a little separation now between 6 and 7. Looks like Kurtis is taking over that 7th position. I'm telling you, that 22, Walsh is doing everything he can at this point, and that's the only thing he can do is be out front leading. But, man, Kurtis he started 15th, and just no worry from this team. You can see it even as they were on the grid. It's like there was no worry from this team, because they knew they could get into the top 10 and maybe even the top 5, and they're showing it at least so far through the first 10 laps of this race.
And meanwhile, it continues to be a 3-truck battle for the lead between Walsh, Gray, and Rimmel at the front of this field. And keep in mind as well, Kurtis Stevenson, he's made his way now up into the 4th position. Now his next target is the truck he'll be driving next year, the 98 for Express Motorsports. This is a really good opportunity for Kurtis Stevenson in his final race with Robbers Racing to give them the win that feels like he probably should have had at multiple points this season. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, Rhodes Gray sends one down the inside of AF Walsh. This is for the lead of the race, and it very well could be our first lead change of the evening.
And it's gonna be. He's clear with a little draft help from Stevenson there. It's gonna be real interesting to see how this plays out, especially now that 10 truck's out in front. I know I gave instructions to all 3 crews to make sure that all 3 trucks could do well, and well, so far so good on that front for the 10 crew.
I'll tell you, one thing I'm noticing here too, we talk about the high lane, and obviously both of us have experienced watching this, and me and Ellison on the racetrack, that the high lane, you know, up against the wall, especially out of 3 and 4. But this inside is really working wonders right now. That's how Rhodes Gray got the lead. That's how Stevenson has now taken 2nd from Walsh. And there's a couple other guys I'm watching down there using that. I'm watching David Wells, last week's winner at Walt Disney, down on the inside, trying to see if he can get 2 for 1 on both his teammate and that 4 truck. So it seems like it's almost flipped here, where this inside is running just as strong as the outside, at least at this point.
And a good call on that 4 truck, Mitchell Carter. He started this race down all the way in 19th place. He's fought his way up 11 spots in the opening 12 laps to get up into the top 10. As Stevenson looks like he got the lead on that lap from Rhodes Gray. We'll see if he can clear in through 1 and 2. But Mitchell Carter, this could be a race that defines his career, because his team hasn't confirmed whether or not he or his teammate Reggie Fogelman, whether they're coming back or not for 2026. A drive like this for Mitchell Carter could really help him in his bid to stay on the grid next year.
Oh, absolutely. You want to make a statement. You want to prove that you belong. have a race like this, even though it's only going to be 14 laps in as they cross the line now. But if Mitchell can do what he needs to do, if he can get a top 10 start, no matter if he gets a chance to come all the way up and fight for the lead at any point in this race, I still think a statement will have been made by the time it's all over.
It's funny because we've seen that this season, just guys in one-off appearances. Like, hell, guys in their first starts that have amazing runs, and there's just something about this series. It's like if you get a seat and get the opportunity, these guys are willing to show what they're capable of, and who knows what fresh faces we may see in the Truck Series next year as well. So or years down the road. So, well, here's your update so far. Walsh has slipped back to third, so he's not completely out of sight of the lead. Kurtis up there in fifth. Now, right now, as they run on the racetrack, the advantage would be to Walsh because he's led a lap. That would be the difference. Granted, they would be tied given where they're running right now. And as Kurtis is going to try to take that lead back in the championship by getting under that 51 and taking that fourth position.
Well, as they run right now, if Kurtis and Walsh were to finish fourth and third in this race, they would still tie on account of Walsh having led a lap in this race. And that tiebreaker would go to the O2 based on the number of wins this season. Walsh has 3, Kurtis has 2. But at the moment, Kurtis has another fight on his hands with this 51 of Jochen Stoyan. While his teammate Vince Friese has dropped back a little bit, this 51 has continued to stay up at the front of this field. The Romanian could be on track here for a really solid day.
Absolutely, as you see the teammates and championship competitors side by side now for position. Though Kurtis slipping back almost into the grip of Stoyan, but one thing that's been a bit of a detriment for Walsh in his bid for the championship over his teammate. When he got passed by Gray and then Stevenson, that just messed up his chances to swipe that most laps led point. But it's not too late for him to try to get that back if he can rally, especially with Kurtis and Stoyan side by side behind him.
I know Ellison is getting a chance to rep his drivers a little bit. I'm going to rep one of mine. How about Derek Hamill at 59? Started the year out by winning Daytona. Unfortunately, did not make the playoffs. Currently 13th, actually battling Samantha Jade for 12th in the standings coming into this last race. But he started 12th, and he's kind of hanging there now, just outside the top 5 there. Again, one of those trucks using that inside line. I think we've seen a shift in this track. I mean, this inside line, not necessarily the very inside. I'd say it's more like the middle section, but obviously lower than when we've seen them run on the top. Seems to be working wonders because we've seen a lot of passes being made right now as, again, Walsh coming back now on Stevenson to see if he can retake that second position.
Yeah, you were talking about Derek Hamill. He started the season off with the win at Daytona. He only has one other top 10 to speak of this year. It would be really great to see him try and stick his nose in, try and be in the running for another top 10, heck, even a top 5, because right now he's cleared Stoyan to move up into the 5th position, even though he's under fire for it from both Stoyan and David Wells at the 92. Back up at the front, Walsh now trying to stick his nose to the outside, trying to get back around Stevenson. This is an important pass for Walsh to make because second place in this race, as we talked about multiple times throughout the course of this season, is worth 5 more points than finishing down in 3rd.
Yeah, and that's going to be big. No matter what he gets to do with the 10 ahead of him, as you see, look back there, it looks like Stoyan's been in the wall a little bit there. But Walsh now into 2nd. Like you said, that's critical. And even more critical if he can get by the 10.
I'll add to this. Any position that Walsh can put between him and Kurtis, even if he doesn't get by Gray, is still worth points. That's still positions that Kurtis has to make up on him to try to get back ahead of him in points. But even though you may be looking at like, oh, he's only running 2nd, he's not getting himself in a position to get more bonus point, get the bonus point for leading the most laps, he's still putting trucks between him and Kurtis that Kurtis knows he's going to have to pass at some point in this race, whether now or later, before the end of the race. So Walsh is just kind of, I think his crew's kind of also trying to reel him in. He's being updated where Kurtis is. He says, right now you're in a good spot. Just stay where you're at. He's using that high lane, trying to build the momentum back and see if he can make a run back at Gray here.
Yeah, because right now, I believe Rhodes Gray now has the point for leading the most laps in this race over AF Walsh. Walsh has led 10 laps. I think Gray has now led about 12 to 13. But these three have actually started to pull a bit of a gap over DJ Kurtis in 4th position. And Hamill and Wells are now side by side for the 5th spot behind him. Rimmel 7th, Mitchell Carter having a really strong day still in 8th. Darren Mills, we've talked about him countless times this season and what a great job he's done. We'll be seeing him again next year with a different team in 9th spot. And William Ayers hanging tough for Crossroads in 10th. We'll see if that updates at all at the line here. No, it doesn't look like it. So, the top 10 remains as it were, but Rhodes Gray now starting to pull away from the field a little bit.
Yeah, but I couldn't help but notice that while positions didn't change, it was very clear without even seeing him in the shot, Mills and Ayers are clearly locked in a battle for 9th there, but you're right, Gray has pulled away a little bit, although it looks like Walsh trying to reel him back in, but it doesn't look like it's that easy at this.
Well, right now, it looks like the top 4 are kind of in their own, as Kurtis has kind of seemed to latch onto these guys at the end. And obviously, Hamill and Wells continue to battle for the spot. Looks like Hamill's probably going to clear him now off of turn 2 and try to get clear there, as the battle is basically for now 6th. But it's interesting to see how this race has developed so far. We've seen a lot of, obviously, Walsh and Kurtis near the front, but not a clear sign of the 66 so far. A truck who pretty much has dominated much of the standings this year until obviously he had a rough couple of races, and how much it changed that dynamic and changed the picture of where we're at tonight with the battle between Walsh and his teammate for the championship lead. So it's just been interesting to see that while it seems like the FPM truck stepped up, it seems like the 66 has not been able to recover from those little issues. And we'll have to see if the 66 can come out of charge late to make a challenge at these two. But effectively, from what we're seeing as we approach the halfway point here, we're still a couple laps away from the halfway point. But as we approach that halfway point, we got to start looking at who the contenders are. And right now, it looks like it might just very well be between the teammates as that big battle continues for 5th right now.
Yeah, they're stacking up quite a bit behind Derek Hamill. You got Rimmel back there, Wells, Carter, Stoyan, and Darren Mills back there. They're all fighting for back, and you got other guys back there. I see Blaine Saylor in the 08 hanging in there just outside the top 10 as Walsh is close. This is the closest Walsh has been to Rhodes Gray in quite a while. He could be trying to set up a move for the lead within the next few laps or so.
And all that is a motivation to try to win not only the championship but the race. Every position counts, and if he can get back ahead of Gray and take off and swipe that most laps led point back, that could easily put things in his favor going into the final half of the race.
And at one point could play the difference. Again, the gap starting the night was 2 points. So that 1 point could mean all the difference. So that Walsh trying to see if he can set up a move on Gray. Again, looks like he's going to try to use that inside. Again, we've seen that kind of middle groove seem to work so far for these guys. So meanwhile, there's still a dogfight there for 5th right now with Hamill and Wells and Carter and Rimmel, and I think we got a couple more players into that fight too. Looks like Blaine Saylor, the 08, who actually started 17th, is in the middle of that fight as well. And again, he came in here one of those still mathematical shots, but not realistic shot. But man, it's just a big race there for 5th.
And you talk about new contenders. I see that bright pink truck, Audrey Anzac. She started down in 27th place and is now fought her way to the outskirts of the top 10. But here comes DJ Kurtis. He's caught the lead trio, working on Curtis Stevenson. Oh, but he gets up into the wall for turn 3 and 4. They're going to be 3 wide for 2nd place. I think Kurtis is going to have to back out of that, but that was really smart driving to not to keep it from getting any worse and to stay right on the back bumper of his championship challenger.
Yeah, that was That was scary. We saw, like I said before, in the back of the frame at one point, Stoyan did that and he lost momentum. But Kurtis, he's been in this position before. He knows what he needs to do. And right now, as Stevenson goes back by the 0-2 and challenges the 10, Kurtis knows what to do here. So it's just a matter of what can be done.
I think what Kurtis was almost trying to do, he almost sees the opportunity that Walsh kind of left a little bit of that high lane open, and he tried to get up there to see if he could get to the outside of Walsh. And I think he just didn't realize how close he was to the wall at that point and just kind of rode the wall, which here doesn't seem to hurt you so much. Yeah, you may rub the right side off of it, but I heard the saying years before that, you rub the right side of it, you've been racing. You rub the left side up, you've been in the way. So I mean, hey, if you're going to use it up, they might as well start calling it the Homestead Strike, because we've seen guys do that here the last few years, and not just the trucks, but in the Nitro Series and the Superstar Series as well. So I think it's just a rite of passage to ride the wall at Homestead.
And you talk about a while ago, Paul Villalobos not really having a foothold in this race. He's fought his way up to the top 10 now. He's running in 9th place, right at the tail end of that little pack that's forming behind DJ Kurtis for 4th position. You can see that blue and white truck on the outside back there. He's not done with this yet. He's had a rough few races, but he's very much not going to give this one up without a serious fight.
Yeah, and you don't talk about a serious fight. Eric Hamill back there. Griffin, your driver there. One Daytona. Looking like he's trying to make it a bookend on the season here. Win the starting race and the ending race, but he's got a few challengers ahead of him right now, but very big that he gets to pass one of the championship contenders here.
Absolutely. Again, it's what I said at the intro about these guys who are kind of the best of the rest. So you want to put it to these title contenders and show, hey, we're still relevant. And him obviously has had a decent run here today. So again, started 12th, kind of been running in the top 10 for much of the race. Just cracked the top 5 not too long ago, and he's got that 08 Sailor behind him, and as we mentioned already, the 66 right behind Sailor trying to make... I think he heard me talking about him and was like, okay, I'm going to make myself known now. So here he is trying to get right on the back bumper there at Kurtis and make himself known. And again, Stevenson continues to lead over Gray, and then it's Walsh, and then this big fight that's basically been going on here for 4th between... must be at least 8 or 9 trucks now at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever actually mentioned Kurtis Stevenson taking the lead from Rhodes Gray, but he's been leading the last few laps, and this would, like I said before, this would be a great way for Kurtis Stevenson to sign off from Robbers Racing with his first win. He's been doing this, he's been racing with Robbers for so long. He got a good opportunity with Express Motorsports next year. He decided to take it, but I'm sure he'd love to thank the guys at Robbers Racing with a win in his last dance with the team. But Rhodes Gray just took the lead back from the 6th truck, and I think Rhodes Gray also wants to get one last win with Chevrolet before he moves on to Mercedes next year.
You talk about that, yeah, that's a big thing. Another thing to point out, something I've thought about during this broadcast, is the fact that this is Crossroads Racing's winningest season in the Turbo Truck Series. Obviously, the inaugural season, I won twice. The inaugural race, and then a little later on, and then the next year we kind of struggled in the year. And last year it was, I think, if I remember correctly, a 2-win season. We're already at our winningest season so far with 3, 2 from Rhodes, 1 from Ayers. But if Rhodes could get a 3rd one, that would certainly be a confidence booster for him as we get ready to make this big transition.
It's kind of funny because also we really are truck series royalty here. You won the first race, I won the first championship, and we're kind of truck royalty here at the booth. And as we continue to watch the race out here, and yeah, I'll say Crossroads Racing has been one of the biggest surprises this year in terms of just their overall performance. And again, I'm one of those that was definitely with you guys when Gray missed the playoff, because honestly, I think he was one of the better teams this year, but. And he's trying to make the best of it here in the finale and go out, the best way to go out is to go out winning. And, I know you guys are rebranding next year, and what a better way to put the Crossroads name to rest than to go out and try to win this race. But there's a big battle. I'm watching that Ford truck, Mitchell Carter. He ripped that high lane.
Goodness.
He ripped it the last lap by down there in 3 and 4, and it's going to shoot him those last 2 laps all the way up to 3rd now.
I've just continued to be impressed by Mitchell Carter tonight. Cale Teskar Jr., who owns this team, he's got a tough choice to make because based on what I've seen tonight with Mitchell Carter, that man deserves another full season in what will become Blue Sky Racing next season. As Carter is this has been his career best race in my opinion. Started down in the lower top 20 and 19th. But he has fought and clawed his way. He's done it the hard way, too, up to the top 3, and he's not that far away from leading this race. And another guy I want to give a call to, not too many spots behind, is that yellow truck back there, Darren Mills in the 13th. I know we've talked about him a lot this season, but it's for good reason. Ever since he took over that 13, he has been showing us what he can do, and I think Fitzwater Australia Racing is going to have a really good time with him next year.
Oh, absolutely. As he goes to the inside of Hamill here, and we talked about him quite a bit during Springfield, and had a good time going there. And I'm still looking for another one here, as Carter gave Roseberry a bit of an arrow push to the lead, but I know he's not satisfied with where he's at. But even if he can't find a way to overcome the 2 ahead of him, or whoever ends up winning this race, if it's not him, he is going to prove he belongs.
And I gotta make mention of this. The way this field has changed too, and he's brushing against the wall again. As I said, he's been ripping that high lane, and I think he just went a little too high there. But the way this field has tightened up too. I mean, originally we were talking just a few laps ago how there was only like a 4-truck breakaway. Now it's like the entire top 10 is within a little over a second of each other right now. Really top 9 within a second, but. Man, it's amazing the way this field is kind of accordion back together again, and it's making for some great racing. Again, this racetrack, great racing all around as we're seeing multiple grooves. As we talked about the highway, we talked about the middle, the people running the bottom. You can pass on this racetrack. You can move around, and again, I'm speaking for Ellison here, but I know as a driver, it's fun being on a track like this where you can just move around and move the groove where you want to go and be able to go and make passes. And man, watching somebody like Mitchell Carter use that high lane and ripping it like he's doing tonight it's fun to watch as a fan right now.
Yeah, and one thing to note, we've neglected to talk about it much today. We talked about it at the top of the show a little bit, but going back to this race last year, remember in the final few laps, a couple of trucks started to peel into the pit lane after pushing too hard and running themselves out of gas. I worry about that again for a couple of these guys, especially at the front of the field, who have been running in clean air this whole time, pushing so hard to try and get the lead. It's lingering in the back of my head. If we see a repeat of last year, who's going to be the one who saved enough of their stuff to come out on top?
That is a very excellent point, because it's as an owner of the current leader of this race, it's got me a little worried, because I've been in that position as a team owner, as just like several others in one-up competition, where we've had to watch our drivers who are doing really well, and all of a sudden, they're one of those who have to peel off because they were just a lap or 2 short. And this is going to be interesting to see whether or not this is going to be a repeat of last year.
And it's funny that's brought up, because the first thing that went to my mind is I'm looking at the 66. We talked about him not being near the front, running near the top 10. He was burned by that at North Wilkesboro. Could that be their play? Could they be playing a little bit of fuel strat there? Although at this point in the race, as we start to wind down, we're under 20 to go now. We just passed the 20 to go mark. At this point, you need to start making your stuff be known, even if you had something saved. Especially when your title contenders are up here. It's like you got to start making something known. You can't just necessarily rely on that happening. But it made me wonder if that's maybe what they're doing with the 66 camp.
And it's not just running up at the front that burns a lot of fuel. It's pushing your way through traffic as well that burns a lot of it as well. Villalobos has been doing that on and off for this whole race. He's lingering just outside the top 10 for now. I'm still, even though he hasn't really been up at the front that much today, I'm still a little worried about that 66 going forward. As look at Mitchell Carter go. With under 20 laps to go, he sails around Rhodes Gray to take the lead for the first time tonight and potentially all season long.
I said it. We've all said it. He's making a statement. Wherever he finishes, no matter if he's able to keep Gray, Stevenson, and Walsh behind him or not, he has been here these last 10, 15, 20 laps. He is looking to show and remind people, hey, I've got talent. Don't make me lose out on a chance to have something good for next year.
I said it earlier, and I'll almost reiterate it. We've seen guys do this year. Guys in their first starts make these statement runs, and a couple of them it ended in it didn't end exactly the way they wanted to, but they made their statement, and that's what Carter's doing tonight. He is making the statement that I am in this race. I am in it to win it, and so far that's exactly what he's doing. Is he pulled about a couple truck nights now on Gray, still trying to use that high lane. Walsh trying to follow him through and take over the second spot.
Yeah, Carter is Carter has run the full season this year with a best finish. He has one top 5 this season. I think that came at Talladega, but this is a much different animal than Talladega is, and and everyone knows that. Homestead is a real driver's track, and to run well here is a real good sign that you've come into your own as a Turbo Truck Series driver. We're coming up on 15 laps to go pretty soon, and Mitchell Carter has, in my opinion, put in the drive of the race today. To come from 19th to 1st in this kind of a pressure cooker situation, all the focus on the championship drivers, he has really made a statement tonight.
Absolutely, and speaking of those championship drivers, he's got one pressuring him right now. And the way I'm looking at it right now, the current top 5, 3/5 of that is playoff contenders, and on the flip side of that, it's three Chevys versus a Ford, although it looks like, well, actually, yeah, it's still going to be about the same despite the position change back there for Kurtis, but this is really, I believe we are looking at, in these latter stages, the cream of the crop, the top trucks for this race.
And it's interesting, too, because as they run on the racetrack, if I'm looking at this right, is the way they run on the racetrack, Walsh would have the championship right now over Kurtis as they run. Kurtis, I think, needs to gain a couple more spots, I think, to put himself back in that opportunity. And right now, he's kind of in a bit of a battle there. He had to battle his own teammate. He had to battle Wells and Hamill, which he's kind of done off and on. But now, Blaine Saylor, I mentioned earlier, Audrey Anzac is now up there in the 83. We mentioned her a little bit earlier. And there's that 13 truck again trying to make a statement in every race he runs so that he can be a contender, and he's in that top 10. So this entire top 10, just pick a driver at this point, it seems like, because they're all here, they're all showing themselves known, and with 13 laps to go, as Carter comes to take 13 to go, we'll have to see how this plays out, how these final 13 laps are going to turn out in the final 13 laps of this season.
And honestly, you mentioned it. Pick a driver in the top 10, you'll have a really good story to talk about. That's been the story of this whole season, is multiple storylines worthy of talking about every single race week. And Mitchell Carter is putting on an incredible drive, a hero's drive at Homestead-Miami tonight. Although he's got a lot of challengers queuing up behind him. Rhodes Gray, Kurtis Stevenson, AF Walsh, David Wells, Blaine Saylor, they're all queuing up behind the 4, trying to make something happen to this race as Kurtis starts to fall back a bit. He's gone down to 9th spot.
Yeah, that's not good for him to defend his title and go back-to-back, but honestly, he put in a drive. He's proven that he had the chance. It's not too late for him to have a little bit of a rebound. He's right there behind Hamill, but I think we can safely say that if he were to lose this title to his teammate, I think he'd be proud of Walsh there for the effort.
What I'm starting to notice, though, is a couple of these guys that we saw that were up near the front earlier, I don't know if it's just wearing their tires or what it is, they're starting to fall back. We see Kurtis fall back a little bit. Walsh is falling back a little bit. And we're starting to see some other guys that have been sitting here near the back, like Saylor and Wells. start to come up a little further. Are we starting to see the tire difference here, where guys that may have saved their stuff a little bit better than the others, and their stuff is a little fresher, they're able to stay up front a little better than some of these other guys?
Well, keep in mind that these tires have fallen off by almost 3 to 4 seconds since the start of the race. We started this race in the high 32s, low 33s, and now we're going to be lucky if people are setting 35-second lap times, maybe even into the 36s. So, as we now have 10 laps to go in this race. DJ Kurtis, he's found the outside line. He's going to try and make that work, try and gain a few positions on his, trying to get closer to his competitor, AF Walsh. But meanwhile, Rhodes Gray has taken the lead back from Mitchell Carter. This is going to be something worth keeping an eye on for the rest of the night.
And
I'm telling you.
Carter has a new challenger for second place now with Sailor up there. He's pulled off some good ones this year.
I'm telling you, there's two guys I'm watching right now. One is that '08. That '08 truck keeps creeping near the front, little by little, and I've watched him here, and I don't know if he just managed his stuff just right, but he's been creeping his way to the front, and he may get 2 for 1 in this shot here with Stevenson and Walsh. And the other two I'm kind of watching. The 13 has crept his way further up, now trying to see if he can crack the top 5 here as he battles Wells for 6. And then I saw him briefly in that shot. That 66 is at the tail end of this group. I'm not counting him out until that checkered flag falls at this point.
Nor should you, because Paul Villalobos, he would be more than deserving of this championship if he were to somehow find a way to take it. All of these guys, Walsh, Kurtis, Villalobos, they're all deserving of the championship. It's unfortunate that only one of them can win it this year. But we're coming to 7 laps to go in this race, 7 laps to go in the whole season, and this is the kind of racing that we live for. This is the kind of racing that really exemplifies this kind of racing. We have Rhodes Gray trying to fend off Mitchell Carter for all his might. Gray looking for his 3rd win of the year. Carter looking for the 1st win of his entire career, as is Kurtis Stevenson, as is Darren Mills. What more can you really say about this kind of racing out here?
It's really tough because I'm in here silently cheering on my driver, wanting him to get one more win for Chevy in the trucks before the manufacturer change. But I'm also one who wouldn't be disappointed if Carter, Stevenson, or Mills were to get up there and take this one home. It's a tough position to be in when you're a team owner of a race leading car and you've got some underdogs, I guess, at least for the moment, underdogs who are trying to challenge.
We're closing in on what will be the final 5 laps of this season, and we can't say it enough that any one of these guys would be deserving, but right now it is Gray ahead of Stevenson, who's taking that spot now from Carter. And again, I'll be another one to throw my hat in the ring. Mitchell Carter is definitely the driver of the day today. I know we're going to crown a champion, we're going to crown a race winner, but that Ford truck definitely is driver of the day. I mean, there's no question there. And the performance he's put on today, whether it ends in victory lane or not, you got to tip your hat to him. And right now, as they stand, as they run, I think AF Walsh might be driving to a championship if he could just hold that position where he's at and Kurtis stays where he's at.
It's going to be close. It's going to be really close. We're coming now to 4 laps of racing to go. Rhodes Gray doing whatever he can to hold on. Kurtis Stevenson looking for his 1st win, as is Mitchell Carter. You cannot make this stuff up. As Stevenson draws a bead on Rhodes Gray, he's going to pull down to the inside. He's going to take a look down to the inside into turn 1. Man, we only have about 6 miles to settle this season. This is epic stuff out front.
Yeah, my heart rate's going up right now, like it did at Springfield. Y'all may have to haul me out of the booth when this is over if Rhodes hangs on. This is real good to see. I mean, I would not be upset if Stevenson or Carter were to win this one, but man, I'm sweating. I'm sure Walsh, is as well.
Don't worry, we got the pack with the pedals ready to go for you, Ellis, if we need be. But man, even the championship is still not a lock yet, so we're still keeping an eye on that. And Carter again charging that high lane. He's been one of the best I see been able to run that high lane today, and That might be what he needs to do if he's going to try to get Gray.
Oh,
here
I
and
see.
try to
Rose
get
Gray
that first
slowing.
win.
Rose Gray slowing on the track. He's out of gas. He couldn't quite make it the distance. Curtis is out of
Curtis
gas.
is off it.
And Villalobos, they're both out of gas. They can't make it.
That's the title.
That's going to hand AF Walsh the title on a silver
No,
platter.
that's the title if Walsh doesn't run out.
Yeah, Walsh needs to make it these final
If Walsh
2 laps as
If
well.
Walsh runs out too, we may still have to wait and see.
Heartbreak for Rhodes Gray, for DJ Kurtis, for Paul Villalobos. Their hopes at a win and a championship, respectively, down the tubes. But Mitchell Carter back to the race lead, coming to the white flag. Do they have enough fuel to hold on?
It looks like they do.
They're gonna go
I don't
for
see
it.
anybody else. Oh, I don't see anybody else running out. This is between these two for the first win of their careers. And then of course you got. It's not officially unlocked yet, but you just about hand him the trophy right now. AF Walsh, 3rd place, as we see heartbroken Villalobos there.
It's like Carter might have enough of a gap going into 3 and 4 to be able to hold off Stevenson. What a story. What a story.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 and 4 for the final time. Mitchell Carter doesn't even have a ride lined up for next year. He had nothing going into this race, but he is going to win for the first time in the 1-Up Turbo Truck Series, and behind him, AF Walsh, who had nothing in this time last year, is now a 1-Up Turbo Truck Series champion in his first year for Fingai Saitomi Motorsports. Take a bow, AF Walsh. What a drive, what a race, what a season it's been.
Man, what do you say?
Now.
Hey, Allison, here, I'll put my arm around you, man. You guys almost had it. Almost had it.
We raced our hearts. Rhodes raced his heart out. That much.
Oh, we got some contact. Joshua Warren, David Wells, and a few others. Oh, Hamill piles in as well. Tough break for them to end the season. Jesse Turner with a contact, and David Wells as well. That's disappointing way for their seasons to end. But for DJ Kurtis and Paul Villalobos, absolute heartbreak. Villalobos 40th in this race. DJ Kurtis 33rd. They gave it everything, and it showed. They ran out of gas coming the 2 laps to go, but they left nothing on the table, and they ought to be proud of the seasons they've put on.
I had a feeling, too. I had a feeling when we saw those, Walsh was backing up, Kurtis was backing up. Like, there was something we were not aware of that was going to play out here at the end. Did I call that they were going to run out of gas? And unfortunately for Ellison's case, the 10 running out of gas. But, man, how about Mitchell Carter, though? You know, all throughout this season, we talk about guys making statements and you know, one-race statements. What a better one-race statement. And not to mention this being the last race of the season, this is going to be fresh in everybody's mind until we begin next season. So he's going to be the freshest. Oh, who won the last truck race? Mitchell Carter. So, you know, that his name's out there, his performance is out there. And if somebody doesn't hire his butt, they're missing out. I'll tell you what, that's unbelievable.
If I didn't already have my lineup set, I probably would be hiring him.
Well, I'm sure Cale Tescar Jr. is going to take a long, hard look at this before taking Mitchell Carter back on for 2026. And a few other calls as well. Audrey Anzac from 27th on the grid to finish in 7th place, probably our biggest mover of the day. And Brian Grigsby in that 26 truck, no top 10s all season long. He finally gets his first of the year in the very last race before he moves on to the Superstar Series starting next year. But what a season this has been, and I'm so proud to have brought it to you from February until now. This has been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the start of 2026 at Daytona Beach, Florida, where we get to do this all over again with some new faces and new places. It's going to be a blast. So with that being said, from Ryan Griffin, from James Ellison, from myself as well, thanks for joining us for this incredible, one-of-a-kind, 1-Up Turbo Truck Series season. We will see you again in February for the Turbo Truck Series, starting off fresh at Daytona. Congratulations to Mitchell Carter on his first career win in a truly heroic drive to get that win. And our biggest congratulations have to be saved for the man of the hour, AF Walsh, who this time last year had no ride to speak of, and today he is a 1-Up Turbo Truck Series champion.